Good afternoon or evening, depending upon when you're watching this. My name is Peter Karen. I am one of your selectmen here in town, and I'm with Bill Moore, who happens to be the chairman of the Board of Assessors and also chairman of the RTC, which stands for?
Republican Town Committee.
Oh, great, thank you.
Some people call us the Dighton GOP.
The Dighton GOP. Yes. Is there a Democratic committee?
There is a Democratic committee, yes.
I don't often hear from them.
They're small.
Yeah, okay.
But we're actually in contact with them, and we have a good relationship.
Sure. First off, so people know who you are, and then we're going to get into what an assessor does. What's about you, and what about you, and how you got to where you are? Because I know at one time you were a town moderator, you're a tax assessor, other than the RTC chairman, I thought you were on another board at one time.
No, I was not.
Okay.
Like I said, moderator, assessor, and RTC.
How long have you lived in town?
We moved here, and I think that's a great place to start.
Sure.
Because we moved here really right as COVID happened.
Wow.
So literally, we went on a cruise, and we came back, and it was locked down, and we were in our new house in Dighton. But we were looking for a place in Rehoboth. I'd always wanted to be in Rehoboth. My family wanted to be in Rehoboth. And the reasoning being, we wanted to live in a rural community, small government. We didn't want big government, the opposite of what Massachusetts is. You know, we kind of wanted Tennessee inside of Massachusetts. Yeah. And I think that reflects Rehoboth pretty well. So when I couldn't find a property in Rehoboth, so we ended up finding this property in Dighton, and I was like, Dighton, Rehoboth, they're the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. And so we moved in, and shortly thereafter, I'm looking at a selectmen's meeting, and I'm like, crazy liberal, and moderate. And I'm like, this isn't the town I want to be in. So I ended up going to an RTC meeting. I think I got that out of Facebook. And the very first night I'm there, they were talking about, and I don't know if you remember this, they were doing the Pleasant Street. They were talking about doing a special speed zone.
Right, correct.
And
I
this
remember that well.
Triggered me.
Yeah.
I'm like,
sure.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
And I started talking at the meeting about the rules in Massachusetts about how do you set speed limits. Mm-hmm. And I said, if you actually follow the rules to set speed limits on Pleasant Street, the speed limit would go up, not down. Okay, and to declare it a special speed zone is like an abuse of the law. The reason for the law is like, you go around this corner and suddenly there's a school there. You know, there's got to be a special reason.
Yeah.
So I discussed this at the meeting, and as you know, at the time, Tom Gallucci was the chairman at that time, and he said, "So you go to the Board of Selectmen and you say that." I'm like, okay. And this is where I started. And so I got in front of the board, and I believe I successfully argued to shut down that special speed zone, because it never happened.
Yeah. That's what democracy is all about.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
People are surprised, it really just takes showing up and being there.
Yeah.
There are so few people that actually take the effort that, all it takes is to show up and you'll make a difference.
Yeah.
So at that point, you interviewed Woody, our common friend there, and he saw an interesting situation with the Board of Assessors, which I looked into. And you can see historically, we had a Friends of the Library event and such, and I ran a campaign about, transparency, and my slogan was respecting taxpayers, which I still strongly stand by that. Things weren't being run well or run correctly in the Board of Assessors, and so I ran for that, and I've been there since. I wanted to do moderator as well.
Yes.
And the reason why is because not our current moderator, but the prior one, was not running meetings correctly, in that our meetings are supposed to be run by Cushing's Manual.
Right.
Okay, which Cushing's Manual is basically Robert's Rules of Order, except an older version of it. And so there are tweaks. There's small differences here and there between Cushing's Manual and Robert's Rule of Order. And so he was running it by this other set of rules called town meeting time, which comes from the Massachusetts Moderators Association. And I'm like, no, we have a bylaw.
Sure.
Our bylaw says we are to use Cushing's manual, and he was running it by the wrong set of rules. So
Right.
I was very irritated by
Yeah.
that. So I ended up running for moderator. And I did do the moderator for one job, and as you know, Kevin Smith stood up.
Right.
I think he's been doing a great job.
Sure.
So that's where it was. The moderator was more like, I just wanted to make sure the town meeting was
Yeah.
run right.
Nice.
There was also some issues with people on FinCom. There were some people on there that needed to go.
Okay.
And I know a lot of people were upset about that, but it is what it is.
The moderator appoints
The moderator appoints the FinCom. That is correct. And the thing that incensed me was one particular finance committee member had made the statement. They were talking about the role of FinCom. And he said the role, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said the role is of the FinCom is not to question our professionals in the various governmental departments, but rather figure out how we can pay for it. And I'm like, that's completely wrong.
Sure.
The finance committee is there. You're supposed to be like the guardians of the checkbook and trying to, make sure that our tax dollars aren't being wasted.
Right.
And so
That's interesting that you put it that way.
yeah, and so that was my feeling. There were a few people on there, and some people called it partisan or something like that. You know what? There were Democrats that I reappointed on there. But there were Democrats who were doing a good job.
Yes.
And it wasn't partisan. It was a matter of, these guys are doing a good job, these guys are not.
Right.
And so I got rid of the guys that were not doing a good job, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I put in people that, they were my friends, because who else? The people I knew.
New people you knew.
So they're
Sure.
going to
That's
be
what you were
good for 'em.
elected to do.
That's what I was elected to do, in my opinion, yes.
Big family, small family?
Well, it depends. Myself, I'm a small family. My wife is a huge family. My
Yeah.
wife is number 9 of 12.
Wow.
So big family gatherings around Christmas and such like
Oh,
that.
cool.
But my family, my immediate family, I've got an older son that is away, and I've got my son and daughter live with me here in town.
Great. Let's bring you up to where you are today, which is tax assessor. People don't, talk about misconception. People don't know what our assessors do. They think they tell me the value of my house, which I never agree with, or they set the taxes that I pay, they control the budget. Tell us what an assessor does, and then we'll get into what you, as a role of a chairman, actually does at the
So
meetings.
actually, I want to distinguish. There's 2 different kinds of assessors.
Okay.
I'm on the board of assessors.
Okay.
So I am technically called an assessor, but we have what's called a principal assessor, which is Stephanie, and she's in the office. She works a full-time job. I mean, we're just a part-time committee.
Okay.
She's full-time. She's doing the actual work. All right. So what does the board of assessors do, or what does the assessor's office do? It's exactly what you just said. We determine the value of everything in town.
Okay.
And
So
that's
not just houses.
not just houses. No, it's also personal property, commercial. Not that we really have all that much. We need more.
Yeah.
But commercial property, everything. Like right now, we're talking with one of our commercial people, trying to come to an agreement on value on their equipment and property. But people are in the mistaken assumption that the Board of Assessors sets your taxes or something like that. That's not what we do. And then the best way I can explain it is what the Board of Assessors is doing is saying, what piece of the tax, what piece of the pie are you personally responsible for?
Okay.
And how that works is, you basically lay out all of the assets of the town, all of the properties, right? And then then there's the budget, which we'll talk about, and we have to take that total amount that the town has decided to spend, has nothing to do with the Board of Assessors. The town meeting in particular, decides how much money the town is going to spend. That's how much taxes we have to raise. So the Board of Assessors, or the assessor, along with the Board of Assessors, will figure out, okay, this is the total value of every property, and we come up with a tax rate, which says is a certain percentage of your property, basically the dollars per thousand of value of your house. And that's going to determine what your tax bill is. So it determines what piece of that big pie but it doesn't. We don't raise taxes on somebody or lower taxes. And one of the things, great misconceptions people have is they say, "Oh, the town is screwing me over because my property values went up." No. If property values are going up, meaning,
Sure.
inflation or whatever, all property values are going up. Okay, so your property value is going up, so is your neighbor, so is the
Sure.
guy across the street, so is the guy down on the other side of town. So if all things being equal, if we suddenly doubled everybody's value, you would still have the exact same tax bill.
Okay.
Okay, your tax rate would be lower.
Sure. Well, I know.
I want to put a pin in
Go
that. I
ahead.
want to come back to that one.
We can edit it.
No. I
Okay,
want
you
to
wanna come back
mention
to-
that. I want to come
Sure.
back to that. But if your property values double, your tax rate goes down.
Yep.
Right. If the property values for some reason, war or whatever,
Yeah.
cut in half, your tax rate would double.
Sure.
It's a balancing
It's
act, because
gonna
the
be the
point
same.
is we have to take your value, multiply it times a number, and come up with your total dollars you're responsible for paying.
Yeah.
I remember during your campaign, there was a talk about your opposition was making the claim
Yeah.
every single year the tax rate dropped.
Right.
And I was furious about that statement because it was disingenuous. It was, yes, the tax rate dropped. That's absolutely true. But your tax bill went up
Right.
every single year.
Yeah.
The only reason the tax rate dropped was because your property value went up.
Yep.
And to say that, like, hey, I did a great job, it
wasn't the case.
It wasn't the
Right.
case. So that's what the Board of Assessors does.
Sure.
We also, more importantly, most of what I just said is mostly done by the principal assessor
Okay.
and the girls in
Yep,
the
in the
office
office.
that help out.
Yep.
Girls that we need.
Sure.
And the board, more or less, a lot of what we do, if you watch our meetings, there's a lot of rubber stamping
Yep.
that goes on. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Here's how much we're charging in excise tax. All agreed, sign it, blah, blah. And we go through this rigmarole. But then there are also sometimes we come up with disputes, and mostly people want abatements. They think,
Right.
as you
Well,
said,
that
that
was going to be one of my questions. Go
is
ahead.
property values are too high,
Right.
or something like that. So most of that is done in executive session.
Yep.
Because we don't want personal information
Sure.
about people to be released to the public.
Right.
That's actually mass law. Almost everything we do is directed by mass law.
Sure.
There's very little wiggle room we in the Board of Assessors have
Okay.
to be able to do anything outside of
What the law
what
says.
the law says.
Yeah.
But somebody will come to us and they'll make their case, and often they're right. So we often are in a place of whether it be that or be exemptions or whatever. We're put in a place of figuring out, does this person really have a problem, or are they trying to pull a fast one
Sure.
over on the town? And we have to thread that needle.
And the three of you, which is the board of three, correct?
Board of three. It's myself, Nancy Goulart, and Eric.
Eric.
His
Easterday.
Easterday, thank you. His
Sure.
last name was going out there.
Yeah.
The three of us, and if you watch our meetings, we've been the same board now for like 5 years, 4 or 5 years, something like that. And I swear we're the best run board in town.
Great.
You watch our meetings, we run like clockwork. There's no drama. If anything, we joke, we laugh, we have a good time.
Sure.
And the job gets done.
Yeah. Are you appointed to that position?
No, we're elected.
You're elected?
Yeah, we have to get elected to that.
And how long is your term?
3 years.
Okay.
3 years. So I just got reelected
Great.
last April.
Okay.
So I got 2 more years.
Who's up this
before-
year?
Eric is up this year.
Eric is up this year. Is it running unopposed?
I believe so. yeah.
Okay.
Most people don't want to be assessors.
No.
Most people don't want to be selectmen either.
Well, we'll get into
It's
that
a
another time.
thankless job.
You got that bullseye on your back. We've
Yeah.
often talked about.
Yeah.
How often do you meet?
It is depending. I mean, we can meet several times a month,
Wow,
but
that
usually
much?
no. I'm saying we could,
Okay.
but typically it's about once a month, once every
month.
3 weeks.
Sure.
We go, but it depends on the season. There's a whole tax cycle.
Sure.
And like when it gets down to September, October, November, they tend to pick up.
Okay.
We may pick up more as we are we have deadlines for when people file for abatements.
Right.
So if we have to get through all that work by a certain date, so we may have multiple meetings per month.
Sure.
To get through the busy season,
Right.
so to speak.
Yeah. You mentioned something earlier about abatements and people coming to you for guidance. You do have something in place for people who need hardships or have hardships. Can you
We have multiple
right?
things.
Can you explain a
Yeah,
couple of those so that people know?
I don't know all of them off the top of my head.
Sure.
I do know that on the town's website, we do have a page that clearly describes all the different exemptions that are
Okay.
available to people. But mostly we're talking about if you have a true hardship.
Yeah.
Veterans are a big one. Seniors can get exemptions. I believe the exemption is $1,000 is what you get.
Yeah.
There is also a hardship,
Okay.
pure hardship. So, I mean, if you come to us destitute,
Mm-hmm.
it is at the Board of Assessors' discretion to
Sure.
knock down your tax bill.
Yeah.
But, we're talking people, and this is part of my arguments that I'm going to make elsewhere about talking about the taxes in this town. Peter, we have people who come to us, I mean, they're making $20,000 a year, and they're paying $7,000 in taxes.
You can't sustain that.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure.
the taxes
Yeah.
are so high, you don't understand. There are people literally living on Social Security that are hand to mouth,
Yeah.
and they have to choose between pay their tax bill or eat.
Right.
It's truly sad.
People choose between that and medication.
That and medication,
That and the first thing that get cut that you can control is food. You don't go out to eat. You buy less at the grocery store, which is almost impossible to do today. But I don't want to get off on that tangent.
No, but what
Certainly
I'm saying is that we deal
there
with
are
exemptions,
things
with
in place.
hardships, and if you do have a hardship, come to us. File a request. And we can help. Limited.
Yeah.
Mind you, we can't give away the keys
Right.
to everything. But there is yet another thing that hasn't even started yet this
Okay.
year, which is I forget exactly what it was called. It was the Senior and Handicapped Fund or something like that. I forgot the exact name of it. But basically, people have been voluntarily putting in money
Right.
into this fund, and if and when the Board of Assessors, so I'm on that committee as
Okay.
well,
As well.
and if and when the Board of Assessors has rejected you, meaning you don't meet the criteria,
Yeah.
you can go to this other fund.
So there is recourse.
So there is yet another layer
Yeah.
of help that we have
Okay.
available for
Great.
people.
See, people, I knew this because of the position that I'm in. Most people don't. And this is a great opportunity to get that out there. It's just so that people can, hey, I'm a senior citizen. I'm making that $20,000. My taxes are $7,000. I didn't know there was an option available.
Do you know?
And it's nice
Do you know
to hear
there's
that.
even people that refuse it?
I'm sorry. say
There are
again?
people that refuse it
Yes, because they're proud.
because they're proud.
Yeah, I
They
believe
refuse.
it.
They're like, I'm poor, and they're not going to take it.
Yeah.
And we try to tell them, it's available. But
Right.
They're stubborn. No.
Sure. The tax rate, not the budget. The tax rate you determine, or who determines what the tax rate is?
So the tax rate is determined. So there's
I know the process now.
no. I'm trying to
Yeah.
put my words together
Sure.
correctly. The way things work. Let me talk about the cycle
Sure.
because it really
Yeah.
helps put things in perspective. The cycle's starting now. We're talking about our budget and what we're going to be doing for the next year.
Right.
So we set the budget. That budget goes to town meeting. Town meeting is the one that town meeting makes the budget.
Yeah.
You don't make the budget. I don't make the budget.
Absolutely.
Ralph doesn't make the
Right.
budget. Town meeting makes the
Yeah.
budget. So, that's where all the action happens. If you want to make a difference in your town, show up to town meeting.
Definitely.
That's the place where everything happens. And so the budget is set there. Then we'll go into the summer, into the fall. We will have then the special town meeting
Right.
where we get after our free cash is certified and stuff like that. So we basically set the framework at the annual, and then we finish it up at the the special in the fall. So at that point, we have a solid budget.
Right.
So we know, so that's the point at which we know this is what we're spending.
Right.
And that's the most important number.
Sure.
What are we spending?
Right.
And that's going to determine what your taxes
Right.
is. Now, simultaneously, as I explained earlier, the Board of Assessors is figuring out what percentage of that tax bill is you. Okay. So we then comes up with a tax rate. Okay, and this tax rate is, I forget what the word used, but it's a factor of 1, meaning everybody's taxed the same. The Board of Assessors will come to, and I've done this with you several
Yeah,
times.
the
We go to the Board of Selectmen, and where we do have a decision, where the Board of Selectmen does have some authority over all of this, is determine the shift, which
Right.
is how you can shift some of the burden from commercial to residential or residential to commercial. And that is what will finally set the tax rate.
Okay.
And so we end up with, because we do have a shift, we have 2 tax rates. We
Yeah.
have a residential tax rate and we have a commercial tax rate. So, but if we chose a 1, like when you could have chosen a 1, and that would be the same.
Okay.
We have 1 tax rate
Right.
for the whole town.
Yep.
So that's where we start. So to reiterate, that's where we start. We start at the 1 tax rate, which is the total we're spending divided by the total assets in town. That's the tax rate. Then we go to the Board of Selectmen and we decide, do we want to split it?
Right.
Which we do. Now, I'm an advocate of getting it off of commercial because one of the biggest problem that we have in financing this town is that we are primarily residential.
Correct.
We have very little commercial and industrial. Commercial and industrial, not only they pay the real estate taxes, they also pay taxes on everything that they have. So if there's we have a repair shop in town, if he's got a car lift, the Board of Assessors assigns
Sure.
a value to that and he's paying taxes on that
Right.
car lift. But when we don't have all that much, there's not a lot to put in. So we've got other communities around us, Swansea or Taunton, they got these, big
yeah.
box stores and stuff. These people pay enormous taxes, and the most important part is they don't send any children to the school. Okay.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Which is the most expensive part
Sure.
of it. So because of this, we're very residential heavy.
Yeah.
Now I want to shift. I want our taxes to be low for commercial people, just so we attract
They're more
commercial business.
Yeah.
But the problem is that what has happened recently is the residential real estate prices have skyrocketed.
Yep.
Commercial has not. So in order to be fair, our recommendation to the board was to shift maximum over to commercial.
Right.
It's not what I want.
Right.
What I want is to shift maximum
But you
over.
have an obligation to
But
do what's right. Not
Yeah, we can't soak people
Right.
Because again, coming back to what I was saying earlier about people saying, "Oh, my value went up, so they're tucking it to me." Well, this actually is a situation where that is almost kind of true because the value of residential went up so much higher than it was huge. It was like 10% versus 1% or something like that. It was
Wow.
a huge
That's a big
difference.
discrepancy.
Well, it's the world.
It
This
is,
the world
right.
is in a weird place right now.
Yep.
The economy's in a weird place. COVID just has put us in this weird place where people don't work from their offices anymore.
Right.
They're working from home, and,
Sure.
and so commercial stuff is collapsing.
Yeah.
A lot of people are shopping on Amazon. They don't shop local.
Right.
Yeah. So lots of that stuff going
It's
on.
a
But-
struggle for the town.
yeah, so
to bring
that's
commercial.
what I'm getting at is that the commercial, we have so little commercial that we had to shift it, and it went up in such little amount, we had to shift it as far as we could. But that really is the only knob that
Yeah.
the selectmen have to
Right.
control on taxes, and it's a small knob at that.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It will allow you. Do you remember what the tax rates are? I want to say like
I don't remember off the
14
top
and
of my head,
20
but then,
something
yeah.
or something like that. It's like
I know it's substantially higher for commercial.
yeah.
You present them to the board, and we do vote. We don't vote on what those numbers are. We vote on the split, correct?
Yeah, you vote on how to shift. So
Right.
I
So
present to you different
what you've
options. If
done.
you do, so I believe the number is 1.7 or 1.75, something like that, is the maximum. And I
Right.
say if we go with 1.75, this is what the tax rates will be, and this is what the average. I remember having that discussion at that, saying this is the average increase for residential and the average increase for commercial.
Okay.
And no matter what, your taxes are going up. It's
Yeah.
just a matter of how much they're
It's
going
just
up.
well, they're going to go up to probably the 2.5%, without a doubt, and certainly we'll talk later about the debt exclusion. But we've talked a number of things about the tax assessor and about how property values are determined. Let's talk about the budget. Unless you have something else you want to
Well,
add about
actually,
the
when
assessor.
you just said that, I just want to make sure you understand that the property values are determined by state law as fair market value.
Sure. Let's go back to that for a second. You talked about an office personnel that determines the what the houses are going to be assessed at.
Mhm.
Is she trained to do that?
Oh yeah, all of our people are.
They're all trained? So they're professionals. How often does that happen?
How often does the evaluations? So they're doing it constantly.
Okay.
I just heard that they actually hold off on inputting it into the system for 6 months for some unknown reason. I don't know.
Okay.
But then the next 6 months they catch up. They put it all
Sure.
in the system. But they're constantly, every time a house is sold,
Yep.
that has to be recorded for.
Yeah.
Every time a new house is built, that has to be accounted for, and it is.
Mhm.
They're the ones that are they're doing all of the maps, showing So they're always working with
Sure.
information from the registry of deeds. Every time somebody does something at the registry of deeds, it goes to the assessor's office,
Okay.
and they're doing that all
Sure.
the time.
I understand.
And in addition to that, they have every year we're adjusting our valuations. It's more or less computerized,
Right.
to be honest with you. And there's a Byzantine set of criteria. It's like, how big is your house? Land that is surprisingly not that much.
Okay.
I mean, you can own a ton of land and
Right.
not be taxed a lot.
Yeah.
It surprises me on that. But it's your house. How many square feet is it? How
Sure.
many bedrooms does it have? How many bathrooms does it have? What is the quality of the
Mm-hmm.
building? So we have to assign like an A, B, C, or something like that.
I don't think people know that.
So, well, that's often part of when people come for abatements.
Yeah.
That's often what they're arguing.
Okay.
They're arguing, we got them listed as an A.
Mm-hmm.
An A would be, like your brand new marble and granite,
Sure.
and beautiful. And they come in and they're like, my kitchen's in disrepair and I haven't upgraded in 20 years, and
Right.
it really should be a B or a C,
Okay.
something like that.
That's interesting.
So that's part of what goes in the calculation. But anyways, we put all these factors in, and the computer basically spits
Okay.
out,
Sure.
this is what your value is. But
Okay.
an important point is if you sell your house or you buy a house. So one thing people are often shocked by, remember I said fair market value.
Right.
So what happens is, let's say we haven't been charging you as much, and this tends to happen.
Yeah.
We try to be kind and
Yeah.
not hit you with a huge tax increase, but all of a sudden your tax bill, say, was $5,000, right? And then you sell the house and the new guy moves in. Well, your value of the house is now what you bought it for.
Okay.
We've actually having an argument with somebody recently
So let's catch up
that
with
was
you,
saying,
what you're going to sell the
no,
house and
he
buy the
was saying my
for.
house isn't worth that.
Yeah.
And he's trying to show comparables. And so I said, sir, you bought this house 2 years ago, and that's what you bought it for.
That's interesting.
That's what it's worth.
Right.
You paid for that, so
Yep.
that's what it's worth.
Yeah.
And so that's a hard stop.
Sure.
When the house is sold, that becomes the value.
The value of the house.
And then it'll creep up from there, based on like inflation.
Yeah. I didn't realize.
And if you add something to your house, that's why.
Well, I was just going to go down that road. I didn't realize when we put our addition on, we put a substantial addition on, and my taxes went up. I didn't realize it was based on the fact that I pulled a building permit, and it trickled down to the taxes. And I wasn't opposed to it. The house went up, the value went up, and we expected. I just didn't know that was something that was going to happen.
Interesting you should mention that, because something I've kind of bristled at. I don't know how to feel about it, but we do have aerial for lack of a better word, surveillance.
Sure.
I'm not crazy about it.
Okay.
It makes me personally uncomfortable, but it is common practice within the state. So even if you don't pull a permit, which I wouldn't recommend anybody not pull a permit, but if you don't pull a permit and you put something in your yard, we still know about it.
A shed.
A shed.
A fence.
Yeah, fence, whatever.
Right.
And we'll pick up on it,
Yeah.
and it'll get put on your tax
Sure.
bill. So it's not just pulling a permit.
Yeah. This is interesting. I don't think there were myths out there. Everything from the house value only goes up every 10 years to you guys tell us what the taxes are.
No, but there is, I believe it's every 5 years.
5 years, is it?
It's 5 or 10, I forget.
remember
But there is
growing up
a thing called a full revaluation.
Okay.
And it's a big deal. We have to call in a company
Right.
and we pay them extra to do this whole work. As a matter of fact, we just did that on the commercial side.
Okay.
We did that 2 years ago.
Yep. Excellent. Can you get into budgets? Are you ready?
Oh, I'm so ready.
Okay, I know you are.
Are you ready?
Yes, absolutely. As you know, the Finance Committee and the Selectmen are reviewing budgets as of, we have a meeting tonight. This will be the third of whatever. But there are a few more scheduled. Ralph was just here talking about the proposition, 2.5 debt exclusion, whatever you want to call it.
It's a debt exclusion. That's the
exclusion,
proper
but-
word.
Yeah.
But I'd like to interject what it kind of makes my blood boil a little bit when people call it temporary.
Right.
You know, it's 30
we
years.
mentioned that. It's 30 years.
That's not temporary.
It's the life of a mortgage.
Yeah. So I don't consider that temporary.
No,
It is Proposition 2.5 override by another name.
Right. It's a generation
Yep.
that's going to pay
Yep.
the debt exclusion. We talked about how budgets are determined, the department heads, and it goes to Ralph, and it goes to the Selectmen and the Finance Committee. What I want to get into is what your personal opinions are for the start with about the budget process. Not so much what the budget is, but as far as you and I have had many conversations. Do you think it should be changed? Do you think it shouldn't be a town vote? Do you think the selectmen have no business doing it, or the finance committee is just an advisory board and have no business making recommendations or determining what numbers are? What do you feel personally about the process that it happens now to determine what the budget is?
So I think the Finance Committee, again, appears to not be doing their job
Okay.
by way of they should be looking at the process better. I think there's way too much of, we've always done it this way, so this is the way we're going to keep doing it.
Okay.
I think the Finance Committee is an excellent board. I mean, it should exist. I think it should exist. But I mean, to be on the Finance Committee, you cannot be a member. Like, I can't be on the Finance Committee because I'm on the Board of Assessors.
Right.
If you're on the Finance Committee, you can't be appointed, nothing. You have to be just Finance Committee. So they're supposed to be very neutral in what they're doing. They're the ones coming up and negotiating and really developing the budget. I think they probably do it more than the selectmen do. You kind of overlook what they're doing, get information from the town administrator. I don't think there's anything wrong with that part of it.
Okay.
You know, I like the way
The process?
as far as FinCom, Board of Selectmen, go to the town meeting, and then you've got FinCom recommends, Board of Selectmen doesn't, or something like that, right?
They're often in agreement, but on occasion there's discrepancy.
The biggest issue, so going into this, and you know, it is tied in with the debt exclusion. These are all connected. But looking at what we were told this year, that you know the sky is falling. You know, this horrible insinuation that we have to lay off people if we don't have a debt exclusion. I think I told you at the last Board of Selectmen meeting. I said, as the Board of Assessors, we were told, you know, by the town administrator that you know here's your two budgets if the debt exclusion passes or if it doesn't.
Right.
And if the debt exclusion passed, meaning we have more money, they said we cut. We had to cut like $20,000 out of our budget. But if it doesn't pass, we have to cut $40,000. And I'm looking at that going, if the debt exclusion passes, why do I need to, where is all the money going?
Sure.
That's what I wanted to know. So I set up a meeting with Ralph, and he and Serena talked to me. They provided me with a bunch of data. I digested it. I made a PowerPoint, which I gave to you guys.
Yeah.
But the epiphany that I had about that is the way that they are calculating our income. That was the biggest problem.
Sure.
There was a problem on the expense side, whereas they were, so to back up, the budget I was presented was 500,000 short. Is they needed to make up $500,000. Well, 250 was snow removal.
Right.
We never pay for that out of the budget.
Right.
That comes out of free cash. So immediately that 500 number is 250.
Right. Cut right in half.
But then I was looking over on the other side, and I know for a fact that we have a lot of money coming online in solar farms.
Yep.
And I looked at the number that was on the sheet was $130,000. I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. And I actually brought it.
Yeah.
I got a sheet here.
Bring it out.
From Nancy Goulart, who Nancy is our town's expert on solar farms.
Solar farms.
Okay.
She runs them
She
all.
knows everything inside and out. Look at this. Not even fiscal year 27, fiscal year 26.
Yeah.
$334,000.
Okay.
Why is the information being presented to FinCom and to the Board of Selectmen that we only have $130,000 coming in?
Right.
Because we don't.
Sure.
We have $330,000 coming in.
Yep.
I looked at other things. So I have, so being on the Board of Assessors, I have a unique capability, which is I can look into the Massachusetts website and they can give me all the information about the prior years. I can go back year after year after year.
Yeah.
And what I found is that, well, let me explain it a little further. There are two parts to taxes. There's the part we were talking about, assessing, Proposition 2.5, limits, all that kind of stuff. And I can always talk about Prop 2.5 if you want. But that's like over here. Over here we have something called local receipts. And local receipts are not governed by Prop 2.5.
Okay.
And the biggest example of this is your excise taxes.
Right.
Okay. Board of Assessors has nothing to do with excise taxes. That's all in the Treasurer's office, right? So we collect a certain amount of money every year in local receipts. Those are things that are not real estate, not covered by the Board of Assessors. And what I found is that year after year after year after year, we are underestimating the amount of money that we're receiving in local receipts by a massive amount.
Yep.
Like $500,000. And it occurred to me, and I believe I stated this at the Board of Selectmen meeting, that I always wondered, why is it we go into special town meeting and all of a sudden this pile of free cash arrives?
Right.
Where did it come from?
Sure.
Now I know where it comes from, because we are underestimating our local receipts by $500,000 or more.
Sure.
So we're underestimating our local receipts by $500,000. There's one in there. So another one, there's so much data. I'm sorry. I hope this is not too boring. But for example, we have prior debt exclusions.
Right.
Okay. Particularly at the police station, right? So last year, we had excluded $500,000 for that. This year, they're estimating $400,000. Did we pay off 20% of our debt somewhere?
It does go down.
It does go down. Does it go down 20%?
I don't know.
No, but it does fit that formula.
Yep.
I told you, which is they're basically saying, oh, we're going to take the local receipts and chop 20% off the top.
Okay.
All right. The debt exclusion number it's going to go down a little bit.
Yep.
But we know exactly the amount.
Right.
There's no reason to be chopping 20% off of that.
Sure.
So underestimating local receipts, underestimating the amount coming in for solar farms, underestimating the amount we get to exclude on debt exclusions, overestimating the amount of how much for snow removal.
Right.
As in the presentation I gave you, if we fully funded everything, I mean, we didn't do any cuts whatsoever, and we just went with the budget we have and the income we have, we will end up in town meeting with $700,000 in
Okay.
free cash.
Free cash.
And I didn't even touch the $750,000 coming from the school.
Okay.
So my argument about this budget, and I'm arguing, I'm going to argue it tonight,
Yeah.
is that there is plenty of money. Stop saying the sky is falling.
Okay.
We don't need a debt exclusion. We don't need to lay off people.
Right.
We do have a problem.
Yeah.
And as I stated, and if people didn't know, I wrote the Dighton RTC wrote the
opinion on the,
con
the
opinion
mailer.
on the mailer. And one of the things that I think is most damning, and I blame you, to be honest
Sure.
with you, is that I think it was 5 years ago, we had $1 million. So the levy limit is the Proposition 2.5 limit.
Right.
If we're under that limit, we can raise taxes all we want.
Sure.
There's nothing that says we can't raise taxes 20%, 30%, whatever. But we have to be under that limit. 5 years ago, we were $1 million under that limit. And now we're right there.
We're right at it.
Because year after year after year, and I've been telling you this, as when we go to these tax rate meetings,
Yeah.
I've been saying, we're getting close to the levy limit,
Right.
getting close to the levy. You can't keep spending this
Yeah.
way. And this is the problem,
Yep.
is that you can't have a situation where you're spending 5 or 6% more every single year when your income limited to 2.5%.
Right.
When you set up a situation like that, your only solution is going to be Prop 2.5 overrides or massive government cuts.
Right.
And I question, why are we going up 5 or 6%? And I'd like to, kinda
Sure.
toss it over to you
Okay,
at that
absolutely.
point and say,
I obviously I've been here for 4 years, and I can't speak so much about going up beyond the 2.5%. I understand we're up against the levy limit. This year we've had a rude awakening when we have heard the sky is falling, and we are reacting to it. A little too late? No. Should we have been doing it all along? Yes. And I will certainly shoulder the blame for that. The situation this year is we have asked the department heads to come either level funded or slight increase, up to the 2.5% that the
it's not what my department was told.
I understand that. Up to the 2.5% levy limit that we can go up. Now, we've had department heads that are foregoing raises. We've had one department head that's taking a $5,000 or $6,000 cut because he doesn't want to see a layoff in his department. And we're going to stay within that levy limit. The problem is this year is the school department has come in a whole percentage point above the levy limit. We can't have that. They have to stay within the levy limit as well.
So can I talk about the school a bit?
Yeah.
Because this is my biggest issue.
I know it is.
First of all, I want to be perfectly plain that, the Dighton RTC and myself support our schools.
Yeah.
They support Dighton Rehoboth. What we don't support is waste.
Yeah.
And the waste that's going on over at DR is staggering.
Mm-hmm.
I stood up at the last town meeting and I said that the superintendent got a 5% raise. I was wrong. He got a 10% raise. He got a 10% raise. I beg to ask anybody, did anybody get a 10% raise last year except him? And there are other members of his staff that are receiving. I bristle. So, we're going to probably talk about the Dighton RTC a little bit later, but, we're not anarchists.
Yeah.
We want things to be reasonable. I bristle at the fact that you've got a guy that's making $200,000 getting a $20,000 raise, $20,000 raise, and while you're saying you've got to lay off the person that's making 40.
Right.
That makes me angry.
Sure.
And there are many examples of this. There are other examples I gave you in the presentation.
Yeah.
There are other people in town getting 10% raises.
Can you explain for just an instant or shortly, in short, how he came about a 10% raise? Was it
So
strictly
he had a so what I saw was a 5% raise in his budget line item. What I didn't realize is that they had added a new budget line item
Okay.
that said superintendent vacation. So not only are they doing it, they're trying to hide it.
Okay.
You know, that sounds wrong to me.
Sure.
That sounds like underhanded.
Yeah.
Now, maybe I'm wrong,
Right.
but at its face value, that looks underhanded to
Right.
me. You're trying to hide the fact that this guy got a 10% raise, and he's
Okay.
not the only one.
Yep.
There are other ones. I mean, I'm picking on him in particular. And
Well, he's the
you want
face,
to pick on somebody?
he's the
Pick on the
face.
BP superintendent. Did you see?
Yes.
So governmentsalaries.com. I'm
Yeah.
not lying.
Yeah.
$415,000.
Right. For
Who makes
one school?
for one school?
Yeah.
This is, and it's a gaping maw. It's sucking all the life out of our
Yeah.
town. They are consistently coming in year after year after year with a 4 or 5% increase.
Sure.
While at the same time, their enrollment is declining.
Right.
I saw him, so I say to you, you need to go to Rooney and say, look, you are on television begging for more students to come, but you want more money?
Yep.
That's crazy. Above 2.5%, why are they going over 2.5% year after year after year? And the other thing, to get to, and I know people tell me this is too complicated,
Yeah, it's all right.
but in a regional school district, you are allowed, you set your budget, the town agrees to it, you're allowed for that budget to have up to 5% of extra that you don't spend.
Right.
All right? And what I learned is that they purposely budget that extra 5% every single year. If you remember my discussion on town meeting floor, I talked about how, you know, it was this year was this millions and this year was this millions.
Right.
You know,
You did a
year
great job.
after year
Yeah.
after year, they have millions of dollars
Right.
that they don't spend.
Yep.
But they're charging it to us.
Right.
Well, what happens when all of a sudden they get a windfall that they were not expecting? And this is
They
what
have to give it
happened this
back.
year.
Yeah.
That's why they have to give us $750,000 because they had nothing left in the 5% because they already put it in their budget.
Sure. Can you explain
So I
why
want
we're
that
getting
5% gone.
Yeah. Can you explain why we're getting the 750 back?
That's there were two items. One was taxes. I know that.
Okay.
I don't quite remember what the other one was. It was like, maybe it was reimbursement by the state or something like that. But basically, they got like $2 million back that they weren't, it's not that they weren't expecting it, it's that they just necessarily weren't expecting it this year.
Sure.
So they knew that someday they would get it.
Okay.
And so when that 2 million came back in, it went way over their 5%. Oh, we got to return it back to Dighton and Rehoboth.
Right.
So our portion of that, because our portion is less than Rehoboth's,
Rehoboth, yeah.
we only got 750,000 out of that. But I did want to ask you though. I know we had briefly touched on it. I heard that the raise, like Dighton is like getting like a 4% raise, and Rehoboth's getting like a 2% raise. That doesn't make any sense to me. What?
I don't know. Other than since we're a smaller number, the percentage point can be higher, but I haven't heard that Rehoboth was only getting 2%.
All right. Well, we'll have to research
We'll
that
have to research that some
that's you know.
Well, we'll find out tonight.
Are they coming tonight?
The school committee, the superintendent's coming tonight.
Oh, this should be fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the biggest problem. And you need to understand this 50 at least last year it was 54% of our
Right.
budget. So when
it is
over
high.
half of your budget is
Yeah.
going up by 3%,
Yeah.
you have to cut. It's not tenable. You
Right.
can't keep doing that.
We can't.
Especially now. I mean, you could do it before.
Yeah.
Because we were under the levy limit.
Right.
And you we just raised taxes. Okay,
Yeah.
well, Prop 2.5 says now you can't raise taxes
Mm-hmm.
anymore. I love Prop 2.5. It says, it's got to stop.
Sure.
And like I said, I don't see the problem in town. And this is why, people may, think that we're against the town or something like that. Absolutely not. I feel that the town is running pretty smoothly.
Yep.
I feel like the employees that we have are doing a pretty good job. I don't think, when we talk about people, are there people in town making $200,000 a year? I don't
No.
know. These people are working for like under $100,000 a
yeah.
year. So when people are saying, our taxes and waste and it's not the town employees.
No.
They're not the ones that's getting all the money.
No. I think people have that misconception.
Mm-hmm.
I think people think it's the easy way out because at one time it was probably very political and was done that way, but it's not anymore. And no, nobody's making over. Well, that's not true. A couple people are, but
I was saying 200. I'm saying there are plenty of people down at the school that are making over 200.
Oh well,
but-
no. Actually, I'm excluding the school.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying
Yeah.
in town,
Right,
the
they're not.
vast majority of our employees are making under 100,000
Oh,
a year.
definitely. Yep.
They're not being richly rewarded
No.
or something like
No.
that.
Yeah,
And we support those people.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to get across is that we don't have, I love our town employees and I want them to flourish and I want them to be well taken care
Yeah.
of. I want to see the waste go away.
Sure. We not to get into the RTC yet. We talked about the plus side of the budget where our receipts. Can we talk about expenses for a second?
Mm-hmm.
You talked about waste. You've seen the budget. Actually, I'm assuming you have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
line by line.
Okay.
I went through every single line.
Where do you see the waste?
So I actually gave you a list
Yeah.
of the things. I don't know if waste is the right word,
Okay.
but I gave you a list of the things that were over
Yeah.
2.5%.
The people who see this don't know that we've already talked. You have made a presentation because maybe they haven't seen it at the Selectmen's meeting. So that's why I'm asking these questions.
No, I want to get this information
yeah,
out there. So
to
yeah,
get it out
So
there.
what I'm saying is I broke down the budget. I said, all right, I took every single line item.
Yep.
And I said, I'm going to put it in three buckets. It's either less than 2.5% increase, under a 2.5% increase, or over a 2.5% increase. Okay. And I'm saying that everything that's less than 2.5 or everything's less than 2.5 or cut or whatever, I'm not even looking at those.
Right.
Okay. Because I'm saying that's fair, inflation, whatever. I want to just look at the things that are over 2.5%. And one of the things I found disingenuous is talking about, people saying, oh, we have a budget problem because of the BP debt. The BP debt increase for fiscal year 27 is not the biggest driver or the biggest increase in expenses.
Right.
The number one driver is health insurance.
Health insurance. Yeah.
Okay, so when you say, oh, it's the BP debt, it's killing
No.
us. No, health insurance is killing us.
We the number that was presented to the Selectmen was an estimate.
Yes, and I understand it was been
Well,
reduced since
Yes, it has been reduced.
then. So there's that. And there's 160,000 or so was for BP.
Yep.
And then after that, the numbers dropped off pretty quickly. I did question, I love veterans and I support veterans,
Yeah.
but the veterans budget went up by 10x,
Yeah.
which I thought was,
I
what's
think
going on there?
70,000?
No, 40. It went from 5 to 50.
5 to 50?
And I'm just curious
Okay.
about that. I'm not saying
70%,
oppose
I think,
that.
whatever it was.
There's a huge increase
Yeah.
there. There were some salaries that went up by 10%.
Okay.
I'd love to know more about. It's probably contractual
Yeah.
or something like that. But the bottom line is, other than those big ticket items up at the top, there wasn't a whole lot. I mean, it comes down to little things, but are we
Pennies.
going to argue about,
Right.
somebody makes $100 a year more? It's just,
Right.
it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of little tiny things.
Sure. But they do add up.
They do add up. How's Tom like to say? It's like, a million here, a million there. Pretty soon you're talking about real money. I don't think, so when I looked at it, I was primarily I wanted to focus on the expense side.
Yeah.
It was like, where is all the money going?
Right.
And it was like, there's not a whole lot you
Right.
can do there.
And I think
The grand total I want to say was like 700,000. It was like 700,000 above 2.5%.
Okay.
And the top two items was like half of that.
half yeah,
And that
Sure, I
was
believe
the
it.
healthcare and the BP.
in the school. We get a budget from the heads of these departments. And we interview each department head and ask why and whatnot. What we don't get is a clean breakdown of what the income side is. We get a number. I mean, it does get broken down, but we don't question those numbers because we assume they're correct. You've certainly shed a lot of light on maybe we've got to take a look back at those receipts, because maybe the expense side there isn't a lot of waste.
They're calling it conservative, and I agree with that.
You have to be conservative, right? We all are.
But I think 20% is excessive.
It is.
If you could say 10% or even 5% is probably maybe as low as I would go.
Yep.
Okay, sure. Estimate 5% less. I think that's fair. But now you got 15%. Right. That will more than cover all of the problems.
Oh yes.
And then we have to work on next year.
Right.
And number one, we got to work on dealing with the school and its constant ballooning budget.
We are certainly addressing it this evening. Not to beat a dead horse, but the school budget is a monster, but it doesn't have to be. All I want is a number in that percent to be below the 2.5%. We've asked every department in town, as you're well aware, to either come in.
Yes, we made the same argument last year.
Yeah, but
why does every department? Why does every department in town have to cut, but the school gets to go up?
Right.
It's not fair.
And that's my argument this evening. Yeah.
I will support you.
Thank you. Let's talk about the RTC. What do you guys do?
Make trouble.
So I've heard.
Look,
you're the chairman.
I am the chairman.
Of how many people?
1 million.
Wow.
No. I would say we're probably we have a lot of friends in town.
Yeah.
I would say that our core group is probably like 30, 40 people.
Okay, that's substantial.
Something like that.
Yeah.
You'll see us standing, we were standing up for you, during your election. I'd like to clear up just some misconceptions, particularly on Facebook.
Okay.
We have at least one person in town that has made it their life's goal to disparage us and make it sound like we're some awful, horrible entity. And what makes my blood boil about it is that literally everything said is a lie. It's not even just like an exaggeration or something like that. And I'd like to provide an example of this. A few weeks ago, Tom Ferry came to the Board of Selectmen, and he was asking for. Tom Ferry is our highway superintendent. He does a fabulous job. Everyone loves him, including us. Okay, and he was asking for, I believe, a new person. No, it was a new person.
Okay. There were two different scenarios that night.
And in the process, Mark had Mr. Pacheco, Selectman Pacheco, was questioning the procedure.
Right.
And said, you're not following the procedure correctly, blah, blah, blah. I remember you said something to the effect like, is this an emergency? Trying to open the door for Tom to say, if you really need this right now, we'll act on it right now. So you're supporting Tom.
Yeah.
I hear Selectman Mello come out and say, well, maybe this process needs to be re-examined. This is not a good process. It should go, to Tom first. So you've got a situation where two of the selectmen were supportive of Tom, and one selectman was only questioning. I don't fault Mark at all. He's right. Yeah. He was right. We have procedures for a reason. Right. Okay. And he wasn't rude. No. He was just sticking to his, I would like to see this. And Tom Ferry did so. Returned back at the next meeting. Correct. And came back and sunshine and unicorns. Everyone was happy. Yeah. Okay. But this person puts out on Facebook that Selectman Karen and Selectman Mello is giving Tom Ferry a hard time. It's like, you were supportive of him. Yeah. And so my problem is that these lies are constantly coming out, talking about how we harass people. I mean, have you ever seen me come to town and harass anybody? No. I'm actually, I'd like to think I'm pretty well liked actually down at town hall. Yeah. I'm always pleasant to everybody. And so is all the other members of the RTC. So I just would like to correct the misinformation out there that, don't listen to this guy. He's lying. He's always lying. And, come to get to know us. You know,
Right.
we're your neighbors, we're your friends. We care deeply about this town. We believe in small, effective government. We believe in personal freedoms. Yes, we're conservatives. Now, that's another point I wanted to make, though. Is talking about some people have made the statement of saying, well, it's supposed to be nonpartisan. That local elections are supposed to be nonpartisan. And I certainly agree by terms of like the old boys network
Right.
or something like that. I don't subscribe to that junk. I don't give people rewards just because they're a Republican or something like that. If somebody comes to me from the Board of Assessors, if the head of the Dighton Democratic Town Committee came before me, I would treat him exactly the same as I would treat you. I don't play those games, all right? And neither does any of our people, as far as I know. But when we talk about being partisan, you need to understand, I don't check my morals at the town line. Or my principles. When people get to know me, they know who I am. I'm a conservative.
Yeah.
I believe in small government. I believe in personal freedoms. I believe in, like I said, respecting taxpayers. I want government to be small, effective, and efficient.
Right.
I'm not none of us are anarchists. Oh, and there's another one. I'm not going to get into too deep, but somehow, some people have gotten in their head that the RTC is somehow First Amendment auditors. All right? I have heard this, that there is an entire department in town that seems to think we are First Amendment auditors. Well, first of all,
What does that
not
mean?
that that's a bad thing. First Amendment auditors, if you go on YouTube, you find out what they are is like people that will walk into town hall or whatever with a camera.
Oh,
And they'll
okay.
and they're basically,
Yeah.
trying to catch town employees doing something wrong.
Okay.
Okay, and exercising their rights, and
Sure.
a lot of times they're correct, because I think they feel there's a problem. Most people don't understand that you have a right to film. So if I come to, say, a Board of Selectmen meeting, I have a right to film you.
Yeah.
It's a constitutional right.
Right.
And some governmental organizations take exception to that. They don't think that that's a right. You can't record here. Well, yes, you can. And that's what these First Amendment auditors are
Okay.
doing. But that's what they do.
Yeah.
That's not us. We've never done that. We've never, not one of our members has ever done that. We have no plans to do that. I don't want to do that. It's kind of a little kooky.
Yeah.
I get it. It makes sense, but it's a bit kooky.
Yep.
And we don't do that.
Yep.
So stop calling us First Amendment auditors, because we're not.
Sure.
Like I said, we're a group of people that care about our town. We want to keep the taxes low. We want to keep the freedoms high.
Great. Okay. Do you want to touch upon the debt exclusion mailer that's going out?
So I'm very concerned. I saw the Board of Selectmen meeting where
Yeah.
you were talking about it, and I actually understand the legal standpoint, but I think it's abhorrent that the pro side blatantly lied in saying that these certain layoffs were going to happen,
Yep.
which that has not been determined.
Right.
And as I am sitting here today, and I'll be sitting here tonight, I'm fighting that absolutely tooth and nail. As far as I'm concerned, there will be no layoffs, period. I'd love to hear you say the same.
I know you do, and I can't. I can't because we haven't gotten that far in. I haven't heard a strong enough argument either way. But my personal feeling is we have to get by without a debt exclusion. I don't mind saying that. It's been my stance all along. The taxes are high enough. They're a burden for a lot of people, and it's our job as elected officials to ease that burden the best we can. I don't know the end number. So if I say to you now there will be no layoffs, and there's a layoff, I'll lose my credibility. I don't
I'm
know
okay
for
with
sure.
that.
Yeah, you sure?
It's your credibility, not mine.
Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is I'm going to fight
But
as
that
hard as
has
I
to be
can.
the least favorite option. Not a favorite. It has to be the last.
The last resort.
Right.
And I suggest to you, based on what I've presented, if nobody will agree to it, saying, oh, we don't have the money, then pay it out of free cash.
Yep.
Pay it out of free cash, and then come September, October, whenever, that free cash is going to replenish
Right.
itself. All right?
Yep.
And I say no layoffs,
Yep.
period. So my first issue is that this mailer is going out with wrong information. And we're going to pound on that.
Yeah.
We're going to make people know. I mean, starting here,
Yeah.
but we're going to keep pushing
Yeah.
to say that, the pro side,
Sure.
I can back up everything I did on the con. I can show you, where I got my numbers from. And it's my rebuttal was true,
Yeah.
but the pro is false.
Sure.
And so that's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I feel that we don't need a debt exclusion. Like I said, our taxes have gone up $1 million, which is what, like 5%.
Yep.
But has gone up 5% over the past 5 years,
Yep.
more than the Prop 2.5
Right.
limit. I saw my tax bill going from, it was last year, I think my tax bill went from 7,000 to 77.
It's 10%.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yep.
It's getting to, I swear, I'm starting to look at it, it's like, can I afford to live here when I
Right.
retire?
Yep.
I'm a software engineer by trade. I make a decent income, but we're not a community of rich people.
No.
I'm on the upper end,
Yep.
as you.
Yeah.
But even on the upper end, I'm thinking, can I continue to afford this? I mean,
Sure.
can I afford, when I go on Social Security, can I afford $1,000 a month in taxes?
Right.
I had, other towns, similar properties have half, the 3,000, 4,000, instead of 7 or 8. And I understand that's as coming back to, lack of commercial base
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But we need to just simply rein in the expenses. And by expenses, it always comes back to the school, because I don't think we've been spending crazy. I remember there was the whole library debacle that happened a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And I understand that a lot of people love the library, wanted the library, but you can't ignore the fact that it cost us a lot of money.
Yep.
And it means additional burden in taxes.
Right.
That's the only thing I can think of
Yep.
that we really spent extra on
Sure.
in the town level, but it's all going to the school.
Right.
So,
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add this evening?
oh
before
my
we
goodness,
break up?
I don't know. Did I talk about everything? I mean, I talked about the RTC, which
Yeah.
I did want to talk
Yeah.
about.
Talked
you
about
know,
debt. We talked about
If
income
anyone, it says it clearly, if anyone has any questions about assessing how Prop 2.5 works, how your taxes are calculated, or if you want to join our RTC, give me a shout.
Okay.
I'm available all the time.
Who do they call if they have a question about their taxes?
What kind of question?
My taxes are too high.
Excuse me?
My taxes are too high.
You.
No.
No, so
I
so
need an
if you
abatement, let's say.
I need an abatement. So unfortunately, one thing that most people don't understand, and I don't understand, like I said, we are dictated by the state what we are allowed to do. The abatement window. So remember, I said we had that time where we set the budget,
Right.
and it's finalized like in October-ish, and then we do the tax rate thing.
Right.
That's the moment at which we know the exact amount that you're going to get charged for taxes.
Right.
Your first 2 tax bills are estimates.
Right. Correct.
So from the third quarter and fourth quarter, those are estimates. And it's simply based on the first quarter and the second quarter. Once we go into January, that bill that goes out in January, that's the first real tax bill based on the tax rate that we
That was
set.
set.
Right? So Paul Reynolds, our treasurer, he sends out the tax bills like December 30th or something like that. So everybody should be getting their tax bills. Happy New Year, here's your tax bill,
Yeah.
right? Unfortunately, part of the state rules says that you have from January 1st to January 31st to question that.
Okay.
That's it. If you're outside that range, no, you're just out. I can relate, without saying any names, one of our people in town came to get an abatement, and they got the abatement because I believe it was like we had the square footage of the house wrong or something like that. And we made a mistake in the assessor's office that although we gave him the abatement, we didn't fix the computer,
Okay.
right? So the next year came along, and in February, he realizes, wait a minute, this bill is still wrong. And he came to us, and we were like, oh, we messed up. I might have used a different word, but I said, we messed up. And we said, we want to give him the abatement. But he didn't file in that 1 to 31.
Wow.
We took it all the way, the Board of Assessors, and we fight for you people, we do. We took it all the way to the #1 guy in the Department of Revenue. And they absolutely refused to allow us to give him, even though it was our mistake.
Yep.
It's like, okay, he was a little outside the window, but it was we made the mistake. It's not his fault at all.
Sure.
And it was a significant amount of money. It was like $500.
Wow.
It wasn't a small change. So when you say, who do you go to? You go to Stephanie
Okay.
in January.
Yeah.
If it's not January, now exemptions, which are if you want a hardship exemption, senior exemption, veteran exemption, all those sort of things, that can be any time during the year.
Okay.
But abatements is only in January.
Great.
And see Stephanie, she has all the forms.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Moore, it's been a pleasure. We can only encourage you to come out to the annual town meeting and vote for this budget that will be recommended upon. The other thing that you need to come out and vote for is the annual town election, which is April 11th. And there are a number of contested races that you will have to determine which you prefer, as well as the debt exclusion, whether you're pro against it or opposed to it. The selectmen have no opinion based on the mailer that's going out. We did not voice our concern with the pro side or the opposing side. They were strictly the one department here in town and the RTC that, I don't know if you volunteered to have.
I was
opinions.
asked.
You were asked.
I was asked.
Okay, to give their opinion on that. Again, please, just come out and vote. We'd appreciate it. Thank you.
I absolutely agree. Come out and vote. Vote in the election.
Yeah.
And come to town meeting. That even more important than voting.
Yes.
Come to town meeting. There is not enough people. How many people did we say? There was
35, 125.
Like 100. There's like 100 people that decide how much taxes you're going to pay, and you can be 101 and make that decision.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.